take my car and I drive afar in Toy Town. There's Mr. Plod and a dog called Bumpy. Hello, Mr. Plod. Get down, Bumpy. I pass the Ark, the Noahs live there, and so does the elephant, and so does the bear. Now that they say it's market day in Toy Town. If you have the fare, I'll take you there through Toy Town. There's Biggs who lives by the old oak tree, and we have adventures, Biggs and me. Why don't you come and join in the fun? Just follow me, 'cause it's only begun. I'm Noddy. I'm Noddy.
Noddy sat down to breakfast. Must be the milkman, he thought. But it wasn't the milkman. It was Big Ears. My goodness, you're early, Noddy said. Come in and have some breakfast. There isn't time for breakfast. Why ever not? Because I have a plan. I hope it's a nice plan. 1 pint or 2? Noddy won't need any milk today. Won't I? No, Big Ears said. We're going away. We're going to the seaside. You are lucky. I wish I could come. Noddy and Big Ears were soon on their way. Noddy so excited he could hardly drive. Do be careful, Big Ears kept saying. Taxi, taxi, Mr. Wobbly Man called. Can't stop. Going to the seaside. Mind where you're going. But all Noddy minded was that they got to the seaside. Gotta get the gear, Noddy, Big Ears said, and rushed into his toadstool house. They were soon on the open road. I wonder what the sea is like. A cow was standing in the middle of the road. You'd better hoot at her, Big Ears said. The cow shook her head sadly and wandered back into the field. This is real country, isn't it? Noddy said. Oh, I do hope we get there soon. Nearly there. Noddy couldn't drive fast enough. Up a hill and down a hill. Noddy thought they'd never get there. What's that? That's the sea, Big Ears said. The lovely, blue, wavy sea. Goodness, it is big, Noddy said. Where does it end? I'm not sure, Big Ears said, but it is where it begins. They were soon on the beach. Noddy picked up the sand and let it trail through his fingers. Couldn't we build something with it? Of course. Big Ears had thought of everything. Out of the car, he produced buckets and spades. Look, he said, I'll show you how to build sandcastles. Fantastic. Big Ears and Noddy spent the whole afternoon building sandcastles. My goodness, I'm hungry. Where are we going to eat? And where, Noddy added as an afterthought, are we going to sleep? I brought a tent, Big Ears said. A tent? What's that? You'll see, Big Ears said mysteriously, and disappeared. Noddy sat alone on the beach and watched the waves beating on the sand and listened to the sad cry of the seagulls. Noddy shivered. He felt very small. Time for work, Big Ears called. Here, you hold this. And he put the tent pole in Noddy's hands. Up there. We don't want to camp too near the water. Noddy dug his tent pole into the sand. and then another. "Hold on," Big Ears called. Suddenly, it was very dark. "Oh, where's the sun?" "In the usual place. Keep still a minute." But Noddy wouldn't keep still, and before he knew what had happened, he and Big Ears, the tent and the tent pole, were lying in a mangled heap. But at least it was light again. "It's very complicated," he said, "isn't it?" "Not really." He looked round. "Where are the tent pegs, Noddy? 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 He's done it again." And Big Ears dived in after him. "Big Ears, where are you?" "Help!" Big Ears called. "Help! Get me out!"
I'll try."
Noddy said.
"Do hurry up!"
Noddy did his best.
There you are, Big Ears.
Big Ears disentangled himself and looked round in surprise.
"Well, who's put the tent up?"
I don't know.
Noddy looked round for someone else.
Well, it must have been you. Yeah, I suppose it's easy enough when you have someone to show you.
Big Ears said. "I like camping," Noddy said, and went inside. His first day at the seaside had been tremendous fun. "It's nice and cozy, isn't it?" Noddy said. "Where are the beds?"
No beds. Don't have beds for camping. I've got us 2 sleeping bags.
Big Ears unrolled one pink and one blue.
Pink for you, blue for me. Everything is different when you're camping,"
Big Ears said. "Oh, I do like it here, Big Ears. I'd like to stay here forever and ever."
Forever is a long time, Noddy. Come on, time for bed.
Getting into the sleeping bag wasn't exactly easy. Noddy's legs stuck halfway, and no matter how hard he pushed and pulled and struggled, he couldn't get right in.
"Mind out,"
Big Ears called.
"You do it like this."
He got up and jumped up and down. "A sack race," Noddy cried, and tried to do the same. "Is camping always such fun?"
It's not meant to be this kind of fun.
They finally sorted themselves out. Big Ears was soon asleep. Noddy wasn't. He lay looking up at the tent roof. Then he heard it. A gentle swishing noise. Someone was beating on the tent. "Big Ears! Big Ears!" The only answer was a gentle snore. Noddy switched on his torch and gasped in horror. "It's a giant moth!" "Ooh!" Noddy screamed.
What? Where?
Look! Look!
Noddy pointed to the giant shadow beating over them, and then hid in his sleeping bag.
Noddy, don't be silly. It's only a little moth.
It isn't a little moth. It's a huge giant moth.
No, it isn't. That was just its shadow.
Noddy's head emerged slowly. Big Ears had a tiny yellow moth in his hands.
"It's only a baby,"
he said, and put it out.
"Shadows always do that. I'll show you."
Big Ears made all kinds of animal shadows with his hands. Ducks and rabbits. Noddy was delighted by them.
"I'm going to sleep now,"
Big Ears said, and he was soon snoring. Even Noddy was tired. He closed his eyes and sat up with a jolt. "What's that? What's that?" Something or someone was walking round the tent. Noddy could hear the crunch of the sand. He could hear them trip over the guy rope. Big Ears snored. Then someone tried to get in. "Big Ears, please wake up. There's someone out there."
What is it this time?
Noddy pointed in terror. Big Ears leapt up. they listened to it walking away.
Noddy, it's only a cow. Go on. Shoo away, cow. Now will you go to sleep? And for goodness sake, don't wake me up again.
Big Ears was soon asleep. And so was Noddy. The next day, Noddy and Big Ears were up with the sun and sailing the most beautiful boat Noddy had ever seen. "Look, Big Ears," he called. "Look how fast it's going. Ow! My foot! Something's got my foot." It was a large red crab, and it had a firm grip on Noddy's big toe. It took Big Ears some time to persuade it to let go. "Put it back in the pool," Noddy said. But it scuttled away. "What shall we do now?"
Catch crabs, of course.
Big Ears said. And he and Noddy set to with fishing nets, competing to see who could catch the largest crab. "It's funny," Noddy said, "but the sea seems to be getting nearer and nearer, and there are lots more pools."
The tide's coming in, Big Ear said.
"Does it always get cold and windy when the tide comes in?" Noddy asked. Big Ears hadn't noticed until then. It was certainly cold. The sky had turned a deep grey, and a blustery wind was making them both feel cold.
"We'd better get in our tent,"
Big Ear said. They huddled together as the wind buffeted their canvas roof.
"I do hope it stops soon,"
Big Ear said miserably. "I'll have a look," Noddy said. And he popped his head outside the tent flap. "What's that?" They could hear a faint cry in the distance.
"Noddy, look. There's a boat out there, right out at sea, in the storm."
Big Ears looked through his telescope. In the boat were 2 teddy bears. Their cries of "Help! Help!" echoed faintly across the water. Before Big Ears could stop him, Noddy was out, up the beach, and into his car.
"Noddy! Do come back, Noddy! You'll drown!"
But Noddy was already in the sea, and his little car was churning through the wind and the waves and the rain towards the boat. "Have you got a rope?" Noddy shouted. "Here! Catch!" Noddy tied it to the seat. "Hold on!" he called. Slowly he towed the boat towards Big Ears and the beach. Big Ears was waiting for them.
"Noddy, you're a hero,"
he said. The 2 teddy bears couldn't thank Noddy enough. "But it wasn't me. It was my car. We would have drowned without you," they said. "Will you come back to my house?" one of the teddy bears asked, "and have some hot tea? I'm sure you must be cold." But Noddy and Big Ears had had enough. They were cold and they were tired, and they wanted to get home. The news of Noddy's heroic rescue had soon spread to Toy Town.
"We'll give them a surprise," Mr. Tubby Bear said. "It was my cousins that Noddy saved."
An amazed Noddy and Big Ears drove into the market square. All of Toy Town were out to meet them, beaming from ear to ear. Even Mr. Plod looked pleased. "Welcome home," they shouted. "Welcome home."